Hey there, fellow marketers, Professor Walters here, and today I'm going to actually talk about some things that can help you have a handle on your career. Look, I'm not going to give you advice that's going to make you the CEO of a company. What I'm going to do is give you some advice on having a successful career that you have control over, because that's one of the things you have to realize is sometimes the stress of work is just not being in control of things. And so what I want to talk about are just a few things that can really help you along in your career and to really take hold of it, okay? And the first thing I want to really say is you have to realize if you want your career to go farther, you do have to take risks. The thing is, if you just sit in the background and do nothing, nobody notices that. Nobody notices the students sitting in the back. That's why they sit in the back. They don't want to get noticed. But those aren't the students that get promoted. Those aren't the students that get the A+ in participation. When you're working in your career, you have to be the person that steps forward. You have to be the person that say, you know what, I'll take the tough jobs. Hey, you know what, I'll do this, boss. You have to step forward because people are looking for leaders. And if you're showing leadership, that's going to get your boss to notice. And who am I going to promote first? The person sitting in the back or the person that's putting themselves out there to do more work and to be a better leader? That's the person that's going to get a raise. That's the person who's going to get promoted. And that helps you have a handle on your career. Because again, if you just sit in the back, don't expect to get promoted. So you have to think about that when you're looking at your career, okay? Now, another thing I want to talk about when we're looking at our jobs is one, don't personalize things that aren't personal. I know a lot of people will get upset with their boss. Oh, the boss didn't give me the raise. Oh, the boss hates me. I hate that. They're out to get me. No, sometimes bad things happen just because bad things happen. It's not because they don't like you. It's because, look, we only have so much money this year. I cannot give everybody a 20% raise. There's just not any money left. It's not that I don't like you. It's just that it's not financially possible. And that's the thing people have to realize. A lot of times at work, things that we take personal, that we think they're trying to insult us, they're after me, isn't really they're after you. They're just doing their jobs and you're taking it personally. So what you have to do is really make that separation yourself. Make the separation. Look, that's a work thing. That's not a personal thing. Because once you do that, it's a lot easier to relax in your job. You realize, hey, this is out of my control. This isn't because Sahil doesn't like me or Bob doesn't like me. This is just because, we're in bad financial times now and there is no raise. So really separating those two can really make your life and your career a lot easier to handle, okay? And that's why I think the next word of advice I have for you for your career is really relax. The more stress-free you can make your work environment, it makes your career so much better. Because think about it, if you have a job which is stress-free or less stress, you enjoy the job more, you want to work harder. Because you're like, oh, this is a great place to be. I love being here. It's not work, it's not a job, it's just being, right? And you have that great feel. So if you can get to that point in your job where you can relax and therefore you can focus on other things, that's going to help you be more comfortable in your position, easier for you to take leadership roles, easier for you to stand up and say, hey, you know what? I can do that, boss. I can do that little bit extra to help you get promoted and move on forward. Now, another thing I think is really important throughout your career, be generous with praise and maybe be careful with the criticism. I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling people, good job. Hey, nice project, Jocelyn. Hey, nice job on that presentation, Caleb. That's totally fine. Do that because it shows that you notice the good work other people have done. And people remember that. You remember your teachers that reinforce the good stuff you did. You're like, Mr. Moore, thank you so much for all that support. I appreciate it. These kind of things make a difference. And what's the problem with saying good job? Right? Because then people know what they're doing is right and they're doing well. That's going to help out. Now with criticism, look, I'm not saying you can't criticize people, especially if you're a boss. You have to point out when there are mistakes. But if you're always criticizing people, it demotivates them. Okay, you have to find the right balance of things. So do be careful with that criticism, because one thing you have to remember, the old saying is, careful who you step on the way up, because they're going to step on you when you're falling down, right? And so you got to think about that. So do be generous with that praise, but do be careful with the criticism. And I think another thing that's really important to realize about your career is realize the worst case scenario really isn't that bad. If you get fired from a job that you don't like, is it really that bad? Because there's other jobs out there you can get, and you'd be surprised where you thought your dream job wasn't really the best job for you, and then you get something else, like, hey, this is actually a wonderful thing. It's okay. It's okay when you realize that, hey, you know what? If I lose my job, there'll be other jobs out there. There's other things out there. Because when you have that mentality, it helps relax. Because it's not the end of the world. It is just part of your career. I mean, if you're a college student graduating, you're probably going to work for 10 or 20 companies of your lifetime, right? And so you realize that, hey, losing your job, moving on to another job is just part of the system. That's why my next thing for you, another way to get a hold of your career, is realize it's okay to quit. Now, I'm not saying quit all the time, but if you're at a job and it's not good for you, like bad for your mental health, bad for your physical health, you hate what you're doing, look for another job. It's okay to quit and find something else, okay? Now, I'm not saying quit and go live in your basement with your parents and play Nintendo. That's a note to my kids, by the way. It's realize, you know what? This isn't right for me, and that's okay. Because one of the things you have to realize when you start working, that first job you get is not your last job you get. And sometimes you take a job to realize that's not the job for you. And that's okay, and you quit and you move on. And you have to realize that. And my last words of advice on your career is find a career that really calls to you. If there's something that you're really passionate about, go work in that field. I love travel. I love education. Two things I love, and those are two things I work on. So every day when I film a video, whether it's for Walters World or here for Professor Walters, or I teach my awesome students, it's never a day of work for me. It is a passion of me to do these things. And if you can find a job like that, you can find a career like that, you never go to work one day. You're just going to be with friends. You're going to work on fun stuff because it's what really calls to you. And if you can find that calling in your career, it will make your life so much easier. And that kind of calmness and relaxedness in your job and in your career translates to other parts of your life as well. Whether it's your home life, your friend's life, whatever, it's a great thing. So put a smile on that face and find that job that will lead you to the great career that you really want, that really calls to you, and life will be much better. So I hope these little tips can help you have a little bit better handle on your career. And no, they're not going to get you to the CEO position, but they may make going to work on Monday a little bit less dreary. Anyway, I'll say bye from here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Bye.